clipping too much. Okay, there we go. Hi, welcome. You guys hear me? I think we're getting audio coming through. Might be a little low, so I might have to turn myself back up again a little bit. Welcome to the live stream for today, January 27th, 2022. 2222. I just love... So the last thing I did on the Matrix, one of the comments I got on my live stream on the Matrix, somebody took me to task. Like, I can't believe you don't understand the masterpiece of this movie. And it's like, they looked at the title and they looked at my thumbnail, which is just a random thumbnail because at this point I just don't give a crap what the thumbnails on these live streams are. Hi, Rick. How you doing? Hi, I'm Tony. So they assumed that I just ranted on Matrix. And so they got like really pissed off at me because I apparently didn't like the Matrix, even though if you watch the video, I kind of said I liked it. I wasn't crazy about it, but I kind of said I wasn't like hating on it at all. So I've decided that this thumbnail, and I would try to trigger folks again with the Spider-Man thing. Okay, so talk about Spider-Man. I went and saw it. I was going to see it with my friend. My friend got COVID, so we were like, oh well. I wanted to see this movie, and it's like, well, it's going to go out of the theater pretty soon, so I better just go and see it. I instead of AMC, I jumped ship and I went to Edwards, and I'm going to try to do an Edwards membership and try to do like a, all access pass at at Edwards. Oh, I think my friend is here. Speaking of, not the one with COVID. Hello.
Hey,
it's Tim. So hey, come on in. We just started a live stream.
okay.
Yeah, come on in and say hi to all the folks out there.
I don't know about that.
He's gonna hide. He's gonna hide in the back. You want your stuff's back there?
What's over there?
Yeah. You want to just head on back there? You probably want to go the other way. Oh, sorry. I think you're gonna come through the set. No, maybe you can make it through. He's doing everything possible to try to avoid being seen on camera.
That's correct.
I think that's what the story is. So I went to see the Spider-Man movie at the Edwards, and I went and paid the extra. I didn't realize this. Like, you had to pay $4 extra if you wanted to see the 4X screening. So did you find them?
Yeah, I did.
Oh, cool. Well, there you go. So I saw the 4X version, which is like really racy, right? That's the one that, don't let the kids see that. It's 4X. No, it's actually sort of Cinerama-ish, and that's where they show you the screen, and then they move the speakers above the eye line, and then they project an image onto the side walls. And I gotta admit, like the very first moments of the movie, when you see the Marvel logo come up, like I was like, whoa, this is, and then they fill the entire view, so it's basically a 207. Well, they say it's a 270-degree view. It's 130 from where I was sitting. Maybe, what is that angle? I don't know what that angle is, but anyhow, it's not 270, but it's three walls and a front screen, and it was like, whoa, the Marvel logo, that was cool. And then the very first scene of Spider-Man movie, when Spider-Man's flying through New York, they actually project like little blurry kind of side image on the side of the screen. And I was really impressed for about 5 minutes, and then I was like, this is kind of distracting. I honestly would say, if you're a movie maker, if you're a film lover, skip the 4X, because I think it's kind of gimmicky, but it's also distracting in that they try to, because I think what happens is they take a scene like with Spider-Man's, obviously it's an animated movie, it's mostly CGI, so they can maybe render out a little bit extra on the wide angle, and then they kind of just throw it in the sides. And it's the registration. Did you get what you want, Tim? There, you're all good.
I'm good.
All right, cool, man. We'll see you this weekend.
Okay, thanks.
We'll hang out. Tim, everybody. As he's walking his way out.
That's right.
All right, take care, man.
All right, have a good one.
See ya. So, what is this live stream? People just coming and going? Anyhow. What was I saying? Oh, I'm talking about 4X. The registration wasn't quite perfect. So, like, the edge of the screen doesn't quite match the edge of the movie screen itself. So it's a little bit off. And Yeah, I'm a total perfectionist, so I noticed stuff like that, and then I think later toward the rest of the movie, it got off by a frame, and it started to bug me a little bit. Like it literally, you would see a cut, and then a frame later, you would see the cut on the sides. And that was starting to annoy me. Now, they didn't do the 4X thing for the entire movie. Only did it for like the big splashy action sequences where they felt like I needed it. I didn't care for it, honestly. I didn't like the effect because it also it messes with the framing, the composition of the shot. Like I could kind of tell that they were maybe some of the shots. I think they kind of crop in a little bit and to get that 4X stuff on the side of the wall. But yeah, I didn't really care for it. Now, let's talk about the movie. So a lot of people are going to say good things, and I'm not going to disappoint you. I'm not going to say I didn't like Spider-Man. I liked it a lot. And it's been out for a long time now. Let's kind of make this a little bit of a spoilerish review, because if you haven't seen it by now, you're probably not going to see it. I'm not going to like get into nitty gritty details of the movie itself, the plot line, but I will say that I've never been that big a Spider-Man fan. I've always been. Oops! Now I've always been a Batman fan. All right, so I wouldn't say I'm a big Spider-Man fan. Although the first Spider-Man's that Sam Raimi did came out when I was about 19, 20. So they obviously like shaped who I am as far as a filmmaker, a film lover, and all that stuff. So I like Spider-Man in that sense. I love the other Tom Holland movies. I like the way Tom Holland portrays Spider-Man. I just don't feel like this movie did much for me. We'll kind of talk about it as from you'll be my therapist, okay? We're just gonna free associate what my issue was with Spider-Man, and don't get me wrong, I thought it was a fine movie. I thought it had a lot for fans of Spider-Man. It just, for me, it didn't feel. It felt like it was laying too hard on nostalgia, and then I loved Spider-Man Into the Spider-Verse. Like I love that film. That's like, to me, it was so wonderful. It's so well done that this movie feels like it's treading on the same beats as in the Spider-Verse, but it's not nearly bold enough to go far enough. Now, also another thing I want to admit, I never saw the Andrew Garfield Spider-Man, so I skipped those two movies. So Andrew Garfield's inclusion, like it wasn't that special for me. However, the Tobey Maguire stuff, yeah, I'm a little, because actually Tobey Maguire I think is the same age as me, so I feel a little bit of like, oh, the old man here is here to see another thing. So, but that's okay, let's talk about what my issues, I guess my issue with the movie. Again, it's a fine movie. All the reviewers, I don't disagree with anybody that loved it, because I think fans of Spider-Man got a lot out of it, because there's a lot of different references, a lot of stuff going on. The problem with me is that it felt like sitcom-y. It felt like we were going through the actions. The relationships in Spider-Man, I'll be honest, like I just don't buy the Zendaya and Tom Holland chemistry. I don't think they have much chemistry in this movie. I felt it more in the other two. This movie, I just kind of felt like they were kind of going along with the plot points. Also, the trailers made you think that the whole movie was going to be about Spider-Man dealing with the fact that his identity is out. But that is really only the first like 5 minutes of the film, and I felt that was super rushed. Like they didn't let you have any time with it. They just kind of rush. We need to get to Doctor Strange. Come on, move it. So I didn't have time to kind of like soak in and get, reconfigure, because I didn't prepare for it by watching all the other Spider-Man movies. I didn't prepare for it, like mentally understand the universe again. I just kind of walked in like, oh, Spider-Man movie. Let's see what it looks like. Let's see what it's like. And it just felt like it was rushing me through the more interesting part of the plot, which is, to me, Spider-Man realizing that his identity is now public and he's out there. So that felt rushed. Now, once it got to the part where Doctor Strange, I think Cumberbatch is awesome in Doctor Strange. The relationship is good. However, it does, again, I've heard other people talk about it. It does feel a little bit out of character for Doctor Strange to do what he does in this movie because and then, they were so rushed that Doctor Strange and Spider-Man or Tom Holland, Peter Parker didn't sit down and say, okay, Peter, here's what I want to do. Here's the plan. I want to do this. And then this is the consequences. Let's think about it. Before I cast a spell that will change the entire universe, let's discuss the ideas of my plan. No. Just go down the basement. And Peter Parker's having second thoughts. We should have kind of like talked about the plan. I mean, they had time. It wasn't like time's ticking, we got to move. No, they could have like sat down. Okay, here's what's going to happen. Are you sure you want to do this? That to me, now I imagine maybe somebody is throwing in the comments. I don't know if this is a conspiracy theory. Maybe that's not really Doctor Strange. Yeah, okay, whatever. You can explain it that way. Sure, whenever. Okay, so but once we get into the fun and games part where you start bringing back the other Doc Ock, you start bringing back Willem Dafoe, and you just hear him say, "You don't tell me you don't like me lobsters, do you, Peter Parker?" All right, that's a horrible reference to Lighthouse. Spill your beans, Peter Parker, spill your beans. All right, I just love mashing this stuff together. Anyhow. Sorry, Mick. If you haven't seen the movie, you might want to click away if you're worried about spoilers. I always tell people, spoilers are not necessarily a bad thing. Sometimes if you know the movie, if you know what's going to happen, you can kind of appreciate the journey of the movie better in a different way. You may not get that initial shock, but then again, if you're not, it's one of those things where if you're not there, maybe, anyhow. So it's going to be spoilerish. I didn't want to get into the plot, but I am kind of going into the plot. Well, anyway, Willem Dafoe is there. I love the part where he said, Peter, I'm somewhat of a scientist, because it's become a meme, and I just love the fact that they're referencing the meme. And then the other little tidbits where, it was a fun, in the words of Martin Scorsese, a roller coaster ride of a theme park attraction movie. Again, like I said, it just doesn't, like the beginning, I just didn't really buy. It rushed through the stuff that I thought would have been dramatically interesting. But then it got to the fun part, which is basically we see all the characters we know and love, and we get to see them over again. Yay, remember berries. And Tobey Maguire worked on me. Andrew Garfield, because I didn't know him, it didn't really work for me. But I like Andrew Garfield. So apparently the co-founder of Facebook was a Spider-Man. That's amazing. And then the ending was pretty good. And I liked where they brought the ending, where they put Peter Parker in the position where we're kind of all used to it. But now I was telling my friend too, it's like, well, they can't recast Peter Parker now because we know that there's a Spider-Verse and each of these characters inhabit a specific universe. So now Tom Holland is stuck on that universe. They can't just say, well, it's a new Spider-Man. No, that'd be a new universe. That means we got to redo the Infinity War. Yeah, whatever. So anyhow, that's my thoughts on Spider-Man. I know you're all tuning in to see what I have to say about Spider-Man. I'm sure we're gonna get a couple angry comments. How come film nerds like you are so pretentious and don't like movies? I liked it. I just didn't. I liked it. I think it was the best Marvel movie since Infinity War, Endgame. I really liked Endgame. I think Endgame was. I made a short video on it when it came out, and I described it as a feat of cinematic accomplishment. Not for the particular movie making itself, but for the fact that they could tie in 22 movies together. That was like a cinematic first. It was amazing production. But then I also ended that video, and I don't think people realize what I said at the end of that video was, okay, it's like the Truman Show. It's over. Now what's on? So it's like, well, you're on top of the world. What's next? Alex John says, what about The Matrix? I go back and watch that live stream. I also like the fact that somebody on that comment, you guys, if you're watching this, obviously now you're watching it live. These are live streams. These are stream of consciousness. I am working right now on the Fox video. I have about I think about 15 minutes. Well, no, I'm about 20 minutes into this thing, and it's about a 45-minute video, so it's coming. But those take forever to make and to research. And Fox, hell, that thing was on the burner for years. But they take forever to make, even and edit. And these are live streams where I can just talk about whatever and not have to write long ass scripts about it, stuff like that. But anyhow. Yeah, so the Matrix video, somebody commented in the first 5. It's like, he doesn't start talking about the Matrix in the first 5 minutes. And somebody else wrote back, well, he starts talking at 6 minutes. So, whatever. Chris McDonald says, is way different between movie people and non-movie people. I agree with that. You know, and I'm not trying, like, I am coming up on my 40th birthday. I'm old enough to understand that there is a difference between movie people and non-movie, and to respect that too, and to also recognize that, hey, what I would like necessarily in movies isn't what most people would want to see in a movie. Like, I like cats. I may be the one of only very few people that liked cats. I agree. It's awful. It's horribly. It's horrible in some places. It's absolutely dreadful. But I like what it did, because I'm a movie person. I'm also a theater person, so I have a little bit of both, musicals particularly. So I have both of me. But I also realize not everybody gets what I'm saying. And I'm not trying to denigrate anybody that says they liked Spider-Man is a fine movie. I just think that Spider-Man maybe works better if you're a bigger fan of Spider-Man than I am. And I like Spider-Man. Don't get me wrong. I just don't. Probably of the Marvel of characters at this point, he's probably my second favorite behind Iron Man. Well, what's his face? Robert Downey Jr.'s version of Iron Man, and not necessarily in the Iron Man movies, like in the other movies, like Civil War and other stuff like that. So I like Robert Downey Jr. And Spider-Man's pretty close up there. Oh, I'll give Thor, when Taika Waititi takes over Thor, and Taika Waititi's humor comes through in Thor, where it's just bizarre and kind of fun, kind of stone. It's like Seth Rogen, but not such a dipshit. Sorry, sorry about that, Seth Rogen. But I kind of like Thor in that particular moment, visual. Kelly Smith says, can't wait for the Fox videos. Neither can I. Oh, this is a big one, and it's fun what I get to touch on. I don't know if you guys saw my I put a post up on YouTube, or I found this clip from the 1955 Oklahoma. Is it Oklahoma? No, it wasn't Oklahoma. Dang it. Yeah, it was Oklahoma. Yeah, Oklahoma. It wasn't a Fox production, but it was a CinemaScope. It was a CinemaScope and Todd AO version. I just briefly mentioned it in the video because I'm kind of tying in to the history of 20th Century Fox was like really well known for their Oscar and I always say Oscar and Hammerstein. It's Roger and Hammerstein musicals, which I'm actually going to be doing a Roger Hammerstein musical pretty soon. I'm doing Cinderella in March. But they've had a history of it. So like they came out with State Fair was the first, I believe. I might be wrong on that, but State Fair was like cinema. Was it CinemaScope? I think it was. Anyhow, State Fair, King and I, and Carousel, and then the behemoth that people don't realize. I mean, nowadays we're so jaded with our, action movies. You know what the biggest blockbuster movie of like 1960 was? The Sound of Music. Like, that movie was put Jurassic Park to shame in its day. Like Jurassic Park in my day, I thought it was crazy. Jurassic Park was in the theater for a year. Well, Sound of Music was in the theater for 4 years. Crazy. It's a different time period. Also, they didn't have wide releases, so yeah, movies could kind of roll around the country for a long time. Anyhow, but yeah, I'm leading up to that. Well, right now I'm describing what's happening at Fox during Cleopatra. And if you guys know his movie history, Cleopatra is one hell of a story. Oh my God, Cleopatra is an amazing story. I kind of like bullet point Cleopatra, because it had a. Now, when I was at Fox, they kind of like, I kind of was talking about how Cleopatra almost destroyed 20th Century Fox, and they're like, well, they had plans to sell it. It wasn't as bad as you think. Like, okay, but I'm gonna, I'm gonna do the Randolph Hearst thing where I say, sell the myth. I mean, I do think Cleopatra was one of those movies that really tested 20th Century Fox. Like, could you survive this? And they did, because actually, in the end, Cleopatra made money. But I mean, eventually they made money on it. So I've never seen it though. I kind of like to see it. Why not? Kind of want to see me some Elizabeth Taylor. Oh yeah. Anyway. Alex John comes back, says, I think Taika's version was not so good because he nails his outcast hero like Jojo Rabbit and his other films, like the short one he got an Oscar for. Just thought, I love Jojo Rabbit. Jojo Rabbit. I love Jojo Rabbit. I've shown that to my friends. Like, I don't think it's a weird movie. My friend's like, well, that's a weird movie. Like, yeah, oh, I guess it is. I just never. It looks kind of like a sweet kind of a tome of a movie. It doesn't really that crazy. HPT Productions says, I read the book Roadshow and was floored by how big Sound of Music was and made Endgame seem like a small indie film in terms of, yeah. I mean, I think balancing for inflation, I think Endgame might still have beaten it, but like it was crazy. The Sound of Music just it was a phenomenon. And the weirdest thing, it was a phenomenon in the 60s. I don't know what year exactly. I haven't got to that part of my video yet. 62, something like that, like the turbulent 60s. Although if you look at what Quentin Tarantino says, there's a video floating around of him talking about the different decades of Hollywood, and really the 60s was 50s part 2. Like what we think of the 60s, like we think of like Woodstock and all that stuff, it was really late 60s, like 68, the JFK, well, JFK was 63. So, I mean, that stuff was kind of counterculture. The 60s was mostly 50s part 2, right? And I think what was it? I think Tarantino was saying, try to find this video because it's fascinating. It's like 2000s was kind of 90s part 2. 80s was really 70s part 2 kind of thing. That there's a kind of a longer, again, I guess it boils down to the fact that we really shouldn't be looking at history by decade because it doesn't make any sense. Why should we arbitrarily say 1961 to 1969? That's one set of years, and not really. Not the 1960s is way different than 1969. Completely different feel in history and all that. Looking at history by decade just doesn't really make sense. Anyhow, that's my philosophy. Let's get back more to your chats. Oh yeah, Cleopatra. So Cleopatra's interesting because the director really wanted the full out restored, but nothing came of it. That is a fascinating story. How he started off with the original director, which is Ruben Mamoulian, who shot in England and Pinewood Studios, because that's a perfect place to shoot a movie about Egypt, is in freaking England in January. And how they moved to Italy under a new director, which is Herman Mankiewicz. Herman Mankiewicz? No, the other one. One of the Mankiewicz. Not the guy that wrote Citizen Kane. The other, not Herman. The other dude. Mankiewicz. And Mankiewicz, but he turned in I think it was like 6-8 hours. He wanted to break it into two. He wanted to do the Hobbit thing and just break it into two movies. But Daryl Zanuck and him had some words, and then they realized they had to work together, and then they finally made a version that was like 3 hours long for the theaters, or the premiere, and they had to cut that down even further for the theatrical. And then I have no idea what happened to the TV version, because the TV version is probably even shorter than that. So, Sound of Music is what's better, the story or the music? Good question. So I have a friend of mine. He's actually a former band teacher of mine. He swears he will never ever play Sound of Music ever again, because if you play the show, it just goes on and on. It's a long show. I think the story is, well, when you grow up on certain things like Sound of Music, I grew up on. Like I played on trumpet in my talent show. I played do, a deer, a female deer, Ray, a drop of golden sun, me, a name I call. We're not gonna go through the whole song. Don't ask me to. I will, but I won't. I played that, and as a kid, I played all of them. It was like Sound of Music was in my rotation of video VHS. My dad copied off of the TV, and would pop them in, and I would play with my robots and my Transformers or whatever the hell I was playing with, and I would just have Sound of Music playing in the background. That Indiana Jones Temple of Doom. I didn't have Raiders. I had Temple of Doom, and I had Raiders once in a while, but I never had the last one, and I'm not counting the last one. We're not counting that. The what's the name of that? So I never got this. I saw it a couple times. I saw it very rarely, but I didn't watch it on repeat. I watched those movies, Sound of Music, and I would watch Simpsons episodes on frickin' repeat. Like that was my kid growing up. That's what ingrained in my brain. Oh yeah, and 20,000 Leagues Under the Sea. That's another one of those movies. So I think. So it's hard to say whether the music was good because I'm older and I'm beyond that. So I could take or leave the music. Story I think is more interesting. Anyhow, that's a long way around that comment. All right, next comment here. Let's see what do we got. Here we go. I'll jump ahead to the more modern ones. John, would you ever make a video on modern distribution practices and things like VOD aggregation? Yes and no. Like I'm going to talk about it in the terms of Fox because Fox has been you get to see it from old Hollywood to modern Hollywood. The problem is I first of all I don't have much firsthand experience with modern distribution practices and VOD aggregators. I'm probably not going to be on the wrong side of the fact when I say be very wary of anybody that's promising you aggregating services. Just be wary, because what's going to happen, and you hear this over and over again with distributors for indie films, is they make all these promises up front, and then they just take your movie and they disappear, and they never pay you anything. So all these promises about VOD. I used to see it more when I was part of like Frugal Filmmaker on Facebook, which I couldn't take anymore reading that form. There's so many people promising snake oil kind of like success. Like, oh, I can raise $25,000 for your short film. I can do this. Unfortunately, these days, I don't think an indie filmmaker can really lean on anybody to market their film. I think they have to do it themselves. I think they have to play the marketing game, play the social media game, generate hype that way. I just don't see anybody coming in. No one's going to white knight and come in riding on a horse and say, "Oh, you there, you spent $500 on your film and you made it on an iPhone. I will pick this up and show the world and you will be rich and famous." Like, that's not going to happen. Like, just get that out of your head. Like, just stop. That's not going to happen. Instead, what you got to do is make something that motivates you, and then get it out there and spread the word about it, and try to tell people about it. Now, I get a lot of emails every day, almost every day. I don't get them every day. I get them like once or twice a week. Some filmmaker trying to say like, "Oh, we're doing this new movie, and we want to interview. We want to be interviewed by you." I'm like, well, they want to write a blog post. That's usually what they do, and forgetting the fact that I haven't done blogging in years. But I mean, if they want to go like on No Film School or any of those blogs and write something about how they made their movie for nothing, which is not a news story anymore, unfortunately. So I don't know. I mean, you got to play that game, unfortunately. So anyhow, that's my thought on that. Aren't you getting a kind of bitter about Marvel and Disney movies and productions at this point, with everything that's happened to Licorice Pizza, Last Duel, West Side Story last year? I'm not bitter about it. I don't know what that. So I mean, I don't know like what's to be bitter about. I think people. The thing is, are the people that want to see a Marvel movie or a Disney movie, are they the same people that want to see Licorice Pizza or The Last Duel or West Side Story? Like, I was on the fence on West Side Story, and I'm a freaking musical nut. And I'm like, because the fact of the matter is, West Side Story is one of those musicals that I loved as a kid. I'm kind of over it now. I'm kind of over it. But then I listened to the soundtrack and it had that one trumpet player on there that I don't know personally, but I have 1 degree separation from. And I'm like, oh yeah, I want to see that. I kind of wanted to see what's it called? Not The Last Duel. I'm not insane about The Last Duel, but I want to see the other movie that director made, House of Gucci. So I feel like House of Gucci is supposed to be kind of trashy. And I heard one of my favorite reviewers, which is Kermode, Mark Kermode, I forget his first name. Kermode was talking about how the Joker actor John Leto, whatever his name is, Jared Leto, turns in this most bizarre, awful performance in that movie. I'm like, oh, yeah, it might be kind of fun to see that. But unfortunately, theaters kind of comes and goes. I mean, the COVID stuff in California, at least, it's still weird with as far as the movie theaters. Although, I think the kids have kind of given up. I mean, I went to the theater and we have a mask mandate. There were kids wearing masks, and I'm not pro mandate anyways. So the kids weren't wearing masks, and then I was in the parking lot because the Edwards is at the mall. And the kids in the mall, man, they have a parking structure. And these darn kids, they're driving around in their hot rods. They basically go up and down the parking structure like without, basically unchain their muffler and try to drive as loud as they can. It's just annoying. I just want to yell at them, get off my lawn, you freaking kids. No, as a kid, I never did that crap. Just annoying. Anyhow. Do I watch the Oscars? Not anymore. I mean, if the Oscars actually pick some movies that people might actually see, look, there's some movies that are interesting as far as the Oscars are concerned, but it's just gotten to the point where it's uninteresting. It's just it's so self-congratulatory and so full of itself, and there's no sense of fun anymore. It's just all about basically self-flagellation. It's horrible. I don't know. I mean, I like some of the Oscar-nominated movies a couple years ago, but I don't know what's being nominated now. Veritimo, hey, I haven't seen you in a while. West Side Story felt super out of time. What's the point of making modern adaptation if the storytelling structure is super outdated? I wondered, yeah, like who was asking for a West Side Story? Was it just like Spielberg's like, oh, we need to renew our copyright on this or we had an option, we have to take it or not? And Spielberg of all people, Spielberg make a musical? Like maybe if Baz Luhrmann made West Side Story, I'm like, okay, I want to see Baz Luhrmann's take on West Side Story. That might be kind of fun, or somebody else. But Spielberg, I mean, he's obviously God among filmmakers. Let's not kid ourselves, right? But he is kind of bland and boring. He's like the perfect. Remember Roger Ebert described this as another director. The guy from Happy Days, I forget his name, the redheaded bald guy, Clint Howard's brother, one of the Howard boys. He said he's like the perfect shot right down the middle of the green. It's not like a super far shot. It doesn't hook to the left or the right. It's just perfect down the middle and lands safely in the middle. That's what Spielberg has become. He's like, every movie's good movie, right down the middle. Good shot. Everything's good. But it's not like there's nothing exciting or weird or interesting about it. So, yeah, Baz Luhrmann, Ron Howard, thank you. Thank you there. No to es narte. But West Side Story is also like, it's honestly like the two musicals I'm done over with are West Side Story and Les Miserables. Everyone's done it to death. I know everything of it. Yeah, I think West Side Story is gorgeous. Leonard Bernstein. I think Leonard Bernstein is more of a classical composer or more of a modern American, like New York Philharmonic composer. He's not really a Broadway writer. So he doesn't have that certain Broadway tendencies. But he's got a very like Philharmonic high art 1950 1960s. I'm going to the Met Theater. I'm going to hear the Philharmonic play Leonard Bernstein. Oh yeah, that's the essence, right? To me, very not kitsch, not like what's his face. You're making me play these mind games. Not like Baby Elephant Walk, not like that stuff, but more like 1950s serious musical art. But when he does Broadway stuff, it's got it doesn't feel Broadway-ish, and to me some of it doesn't feel very fun. I mean, with West Side Story, you had Stephen Sondheim writing the lyrics, so you at least had a little bit of that little bit of Broadway. And Stephen Sondheim doesn't have the Broadway tendencies. But to me, he's a more interesting, I think he's a better musical writer than Leonard Bernstein. Leonard Bernstein writes stuff that I think are like unsingable. Honest, I'm trying to think of the name of that musical that he wrote. I think is it Camille or something like that. And like, oh, that's a really cool line. But then there's a singer who does that, and like, that's just not cool. I don't like it. I don't like it. Sorry. I think orchestrally it works. I'm sure I'm going to watch this back later. Like, I will understand what I'm saying because it's all in my head. I understand what I'm saying, but I don't think anyone in the audience understands what the hell I'm talking about. Sorry, guys. Sorry about that. Let's get back on topic. I know I'm just stream of conscious mind here, guys, going. I need to slow down in my speaking style. Slow down. All right. Flash Drive Film says, it wasn't great bullfighting. It was only perfect bullfighting. Hemingway. That's something Hemingway would say, probably. RPO wasn't that bad. Is that RPO? RPO was perfect candidate for Spielberg's weirdly sterile schmaltziness. RPO, West Side Story? Now, I don't know what that is. You have to fill me in on that. I think the new Cyrano de Bergerac movie with Peter Dinklage is going to be a musical. Okay, I'm in. I'm game. I kind of want to see Cyrano de Bergerac the musical. I mean, why haven't they done a musical of that? I love Cyrano de Bergerac. Like, we had a reading here of Cyrano de Bergerac. Like, I remember as a kid, I in high school we read that, and I played Cyrano. We read it in English class, so it was like, just out of book reading. But I love Cyrano de Bergerac. The ending of Cyrano de Bergerac, the original, it's a little rough. It needs to be updated for sure. It's not a very entertaining ending. No todo esto say. So you're gonna make me rant here. Disney Marvel superhero movies reboots are getting to a dangerous point of concentration of power, attention, specialty, and money. Great directors having to make movies with Netflix. So I disagree with that vehemently, because I don't believe they are dangerous. I think honestly, Marvel is in the worst position it has ever been. I think superhero fatigue is a very real thing. I'm feeling it. Like, I'm watching the Spiderman movie. I'm like, I'm feeling kind of fatigued over this stuff. So I think superhero movies I think Marvel is actually in the most perilous spot it's ever been. Remember, like, there's an old saying, my lights are flickering. There's an old saying that the worst day for a company is when it becomes number one. Because then it has nothing to fight for. So Marvel basically did the most amazing, bring them all together, superheroes unite, Avengers unite. Okay, now what? Like, you've reached such a high point. Every movie is not going to be a shadow of that. They're never going to be able to do another movie that generates the kind of hype that Infinity Wars did. It's not going to happen because public saw it. It's kind of over. Now, is there a concentration of power? I think that was also inevitable. Like, I don't think indie movies really have much of a chance, especially with COVID. Like, COVID killed the theater. It's going to take some time to get back to a normal routine of coming back to theaters to see movies that aren't necessarily necessary to watch on a big screen. Because, during COVID, people bought big TVs. People got sat at home and watched watch shows on their screens. They got used to home viewing. So I think a lot of indie films might find, home viewing is going to be the outlet for them, and the theaters are going to be more and more, relegated to the big event movies. Maybe that's the way it is, unfortunately. But I don't think it's necessarily a concentration of power thing. And the other thing too, you got to remember too, those kind of movies do create the money to fund other movies. So you do need a big blockbuster to like Marvel. I mean, Taika Waititi is kind of a good example. He was able to do Jojo Rabbit because he had the power from the Marvel movies. He made it after. I don't forget what the deal was exactly. I'm sure people in chat will fill me in on that. But it was because he had that kind of say in Hollywood to be able to pull that off. And your response is, yeah, but that's because you feel that while watching Spider-Man, I felt the exact same way. But in these pandemic times, theaters are really sensitive positions. Interests and traditions changed. Yeah, they have. I agree, but I don't think that's Marvel's fault. So I don't think it's necessarily Marvel that is the one. Like, remember when the pandemic started to lift up a little bit before we had the Delta hit again? It was like the big movie that was going to bring everybody back was Christopher Nolan. And the whatever, Tenet, right? Tenet was supposed to bring people back, and then yeah, whatever. Then people were like, I want to see Tenet. I just described half of Tenet. Sorry. That was a horrible joke. And then it was not GoldenEye, but the Bond movie. And no one cared about that. So I think it will be a while. I don't think it necessarily. Well, the fact is, independents were never being played in the theaters. Like, even before the pandemic, they weren't very rarely making it to the large chain theaters. I think it's going to kind of move toward streaming, move toward private home viewing, unfortunately, or it might be like more of a event style film. So instead of like trying to do a wide, because think about it, like from a business standpoint, right? Something like Licorice Pizza, which I'll be honest, I don't think looks. I'm not very interested in the movie, other than the fact that Paul Thomas Anderson directed it. Like, if Paul Thomas Anderson wasn't connected to it, I'd be like, no, pass, because I don't have that nostalgia from the '70s. I just don't, and it looks like, to me, that movie looks like a '70s love letter to the '70s. But you're gonna put that in a theater where maybe 3 people show up to the theater to see that movie. I saw Miss America, which was a movie by what's the girl's name? Whatever. Yeah, I saw a movie. It was a quirky indie film with that girl that directed Little Women. Anyhow, and I was like the only other person in the theater. Like, they're holding this theater for 2 people to watch this movie, and we're both paying like $10. I don't know if you guys seen the price of rent. Not the movie, but rent, actual moolah rent, and how much do you pay the soda jerk to pop popcorn? It's a lot more than that movie theater. So you got to fill these theaters up with people. You got to. So you can't blame like Marvel and Disney, because they generate people. They put butts in seats. Unfortunately, so it might make more sense to for those indie movies to congregate into a location, like a one-time event, premiere night. Maybe the road show makes more sense. Bring that back, where they go town to town and like, okay, we're gonna do a road show with Licorice Pizza. Paul Thomas Anderson will be there, and Paul Thomas Anderson will draw a crowd. So do it that way. And I bet you could actually make money. And then people would travel, like 50 miles to go see. I'd travel 50 miles to see Paul Thomas Anderson doing a premiere, and then probably, pay like $25 a ticket rather than $10. If you're going to get evening with Paul Thomas Anderson and they're going to watch Licorice Pizza, there you go, $25, $50. They could easily charge that. So you got to think of it from a business standpoint too, not just from like a fan standpoint. Of course, I'm a business major. That's what I do. There you go. Not sure if you, maybe, I'm not sure if you're jumping in, talking about the factors of color and film grain make it worth shooting in film if you're comfortable with exposing it the way you're. Yeah, film. I guess we're talking about film. I'll let you guys hash that out. I've never shot a lick of motion picture film. I shot still film. I'll be honest with you. That's not my interest anymore. It's funny. Today I got a comment, I don't want to turn this into like John ranting about comments he gets, but somebody was like saying, I miss these old videos where you talked about exposure triangle, and I thought, I've said everything I wanted to say about the exposure triangle. I'm kind of over it. Like, I'm not interested in talking more about exposure. I've already said what I need to say on it. With film, I'm kind of over it. I'm kind of over digital or film. I'm just kind of done with that. I don't care. Like I at this point in my life and my career, my so-called career, whatever that means, I just care about story, and that's probably one of those. Humble brags. Well, I just care about story now. I'm so over it. I'm so over the texture, color. I'm just over that lighting. I'm just all about the story, man. I mean, and it's supposed to make me feel like I'm superior. I'm just all about the story, man. It's all about the story. Doesn't matter, man. You can leave the lens cap on as long as it's got a good story. Put that a quote. Clip that out. Put it on a t-shirt. So. See what we're talking about. What are your thoughts about ETTR and exposing digital? I'm over it. I wouldn't actually, honestly, I wouldn't ETTR anymore. Like, it might have been useful back in the day when cameras had low noise or had a lot more noise than they do now. If you got like a dual ISO camera or some of these newer modern cameras, there's no point in ETTR. Hey, Nate Doler, how you doing? Haven't seen you probably. Were you here last week? I think you were here. I mean, the quote, best camera video you made is still great and raises some great points. Oh yeah, was that the one where I'm driving a car? I think I tricked some people into thinking that was really driving for a bit until I started like going weird. That was fun. I want to make more stuff. Okay, I mean, I'll be honest. Like, I was supposed to stream yesterday. I didn't because I was having issues with my mom. Mom's kind of losing her ability to walk. Period. And yesterday I was like so distraught over it, like so feeling so bad about it. That I started looking at like, how can I put her into elder care facilities and all that stuff. And I went and visited one today, and like, I'm not putting her here. So, but I think I figured out what I could do, where it won't be more money that I'm spending now and to take care of her, but at least it'll make her safer and it'll give me my life a little bit back. So I'm feeling pepped about that because like, oh, I can maybe do something here. So anyhow, I forget what my point was. Oh yeah, I want to do more Filmmaker IQ videos. But right now, the last like month or so, my day is basically half at home, taking care of my mom, and then coming here, and then I sort of escape from the reality by making stuff like this. And unfortunately, I don't have the energy to do stuff. So I feel like I'm trying to I keep saying this. I'm trying to come back to doing stuff, kind of do more stuff. Like I said, Fox video is happening, which I've been saying for a year. During COVID, like, oh yeah, Fox video is going to happen, but now it's actually happening. It looks great. Anyhow, yep. Anyhow, Yedlin is Steve Yedlin. Is that his name? He is so. I would never cross swords with Yedlin. He sounds like he knows. He is well beyond my expertise on the topic, and from what I see and hear what he says, I'd say, yeah, just listen to him. He's got it figured out. Just listen to him. I'm also always for the person that goes against marketing BS. I hate marketing BS. If you haven't figured that out about me, I hate being marketed at. Now, I love going to NAB and seeing all the new toys, but I hate being freaking marketed at and saying, you need this or else you're going to fall behind. You need this. So I hate that because I have a whole studio full of gear I bought because I needed it. And I still buy it. I have gas, like there's no gas, gear acquisition syndrome, if you don't know what that means. Not that other kind of gas, although, maybe, a little bit. Orange Betsy, how you doing, buddy? I haven't seen you in a long time. How you doing out there in New York City? Oh my goodness. I always wanted to visit New York City, but I don't think right now is the time to go. Eyebrow Cinema made a really great video on why this comparison doesn't work. I don't know what that is. Compare musicals in a spectacle. I compare with musicals. They need to be big budget in a way superheroes movie have to now. Perhaps I'm missing the thread on that. But I agree with you. Musicals, like it even happens in theater. Like you can't mount a musical in a theater unless you have a big budget. And a big cast. You can't pull off like a Glenn Ross casting. Glenn Ross can be done in a box theater, with black walls. You can do that, but you can't do family opera in a black box theater. You know what I mean? So musicals have to have a big budget, just kind of like superhero movies do. Is that the figure you made for an upcoming Batman movie? No, I just made it because I love Batman. I forgot that there's a new movie coming out. I keep forgetting about it. I do love Batman. I occasionally I'll just sit and go through HBO Max, and I'll just try to find all the Batman movies. I love the Batman animated movies that came in the 2000s and beyond. In the 90s, I wasn't crazy about that. I grew up on animated Batman the animated. I grew up on Batman the animated series. I watched a lot of it. I'm kind of over it. I like it. I'm not one of those guys that loves nostalgia in that sense, but I love the 2000s Batmans, like the long good night or long night, Red Mask. A lot of those, they're kind of darker, edgier Batman animated series. I wouldn't show them to kids necessarily. They're kind of dark. Some of them are pretty dark. I mean, it's a Dark Knight. Yeah, here's Man for After My Heart. It's the same reason I hate when practical effects are played up in the promos, even when they VFX. Yeah, like they said. Remember, one of my favorite movies of all time. I'm not knocking it, but Mad Max Fury Road. Fantastic! I love that movie, but they all acted like everything was real in that movie. Oh my God, they weren't. Everything was. It was finally returned to practical effects. Finally, and then I this is back when I was blogging, and I put a video from VFX like channel, which is a great channel for like serious discussion about VFX. And it was like 2,000 of 3,000 shots were VFX. 2/3 of the movie were VFX. Now, again, VFX might just mean they touch up the background. Maybe they add some stuff in the background, cut away the airplane that flies overhead. I mean, that's minor VFX, but I mean or background replacement. Scene set extensions and stuff like that. That's all VFX. It really is. So, yeah, and there's a video way long ago by I think Freddie Wong of Rocket Jump talking about how it's not practical effects or VFX, it's practical effects and VFX. Take your practical, augment it with digital. Maybe one shot's digital, one shot's practical. Every shot needs its own tool. Anyhow, I talk endlessly about that. So, they specifically created a huge storm in real life for Mad Max. Exactly. They were able to put out so much carbon dioxide that the average temperature in Australia went up by 17 degrees. They created a massive storm, and then they shot it there, and 3 people died. It's tragic, but exactly. Thumb Warrior said, "Free Road really shows how much you can sell CGI when it's composited well with something real." Exactly. I think it's also, there is. I think what happens in a lot of these big special effects movies. Like, I don't think the director actually. I wonder how much of the director actually directs anymore. Like, if I were to step into a Marvel movie, how much of that movie would be already directed for me? You know what I mean? Like, I'm basically there just to say yes, no, okay. But like, somebody will probably say, "Hey, we're gonna do a Spider-Man movie, and I got this idea. So we got the script here, and Spider-Man's gonna be running down this thing, and the camera's gonna fly all the way around here, and all the way, and it's gonna go through an eye of a needle. It's gonna go through here, and it's like, okay, go ahead, do it." I'm not really directing it. I'm not really saying, "Oh, I want the camera to fly." No, like, That's what they want. They want to show off this thing. So they built this beautiful set. So they want to, a digital set. They want to show it off, and they figured they're gonna fly the camera all over here and there. All right. Like, I wonder how much it was big budget, because like Patty Jenkins, I was watching the Wonder Woman in 1984 movie, and I was like, is this different than any other movie? Any other superhero movie ever made that has the same kind of style, the same kind of flying shots? It's like, it's nothing like particularly you can point to and say that's Patty Jenkins' style. You know, at least some of the bigger set pieces, they just don't have that. I think because they're not really directed by the film. I mean, they're made in the VFX house. The VFX basically kind of show them something, and director's like, yeah, okay, I like that. And that's the way it is. I mean, if you want to get down to it, I mean, sure, the directors could say no, and they could have to go back and re-render it, do something different. So, in a sense, the director does have final say. I get that, but I'm just saying, I feel like most big budget movies kind of look the same. They have the same angle or eye to them that they don't. Nah, you get what I'm saying. Or Logan Paul filming a dead body, and we're gonna go there. Those were the days back when YouTube wasn't crazy. Oh wait, it was crazy. Most new movies sucks. Too much CGI and not enough good in filmmaking. You should see the 1930s movies. I always make it a point to tell people that if you think movies suck now, you should go back to the 30s, the golden era of Hollywood. Basically, most movies in the golden era of Hollywood are B movies. Like 75% of movies were B movies, literally called B movies, because what the hell are you gonna? TV didn't exist yet. What are you gonna watch? You can't be entertained by anything else. You're gonna play stickball, little boy, during the Depression. You're in a movie theater. You paid 5 cents to get here. You're snogging with your girlfriend. Tell me movies suck. The 30s was. I wanted to also, maybe I should do this, put on my board of things to do. I did an article post a long time ago, and it's fun to do this. I picked a year, 1972, I believe it was. And I said, okay, Godfather came out. Cabaret won the musical, or won the Oscar. So all these great movies. From 1972, great year for a movie, right? What are the 10 worst movies I could find in 1972? Holy moly! Like, there's one movie I found which was, I mean, it was supposed to be one of those like edgy comedy. Well, it wasn't comedy. It was like edgy like issue movies. But it was a white guy who was a racist. And yes, this is the 70s, so they were talking about race the way we are today. There's a white guy who was a racist, and he gets in a car accident, and he's gonna die. The only way they can save him is to transplant his body to a black man. So the whole movie is like this racist guy and like a black guy. It wasn't Richard Pryor, but it was something that, one that looked like Richard Pryor. Like he's like, "What are you doing? You driving that car?" It's like, oh man, this is a movie they made in the 70s. It was horrible. Oh my goodness. Anyhow. Yeah, Big Bone says, "Golden Age of Hollywood was atrocious. It's such weird glamour nonsense with nothing to say. It was the golden era for studios because they could just freaking make money hand over fist. But it wasn't really good for content. The movies themselves weren't that good. Yeah, I mean, there were obviously some great movies that come out of the golden era of Hollywood, but they were a lot of crap that we just forget about. It's called the filter of history." Derek Roberts says, "Anyone knows of a possible Clockwork Orange ripoff? Warn me, please. I don't know what that means." They did make another Clockwork Orange, I think, in the UK for television or something like that. I guess Kubrick made it in the UK too. So yeah, but I think there was another version made. It was like for television though. It was like a TV special or something. I don't remember. I'm pretty sure there's another version. Oh, sounds like Finnegans Rainbow, which used blackface for anti-racist message, directed by pre-Godfather Coppola. Finnegans Rainbow is freaking weird. I mean, if you describe it to people today, like, oh yeah, Sean Connery in it, I think. Is what Finnegans Rainbow. Like, I remember he used to come on my Broadway radio. I had like a streaming radio site, and they'd occasionally play Finnegans Rainbow, and like, ugh, this movie looks awful. This is terrible. Oh, and the music's like so corny, so freaking corny. Anyhow, go back and read the posts. I'm busy live streaming, dude. I can't go back and read your posts. I'm just reading random comments. All right, I quite like the latest Spiderman film, but the VFX shots were very obviously weird lighting, especially in the canyon train scene and Doctor. Well, I mean, the canyon trains in Doctor Strange. That is, you can't get. I mean, that you can't complain about the lighting. You can't complain about the lighting when there's like stuff all. I mean, I like that sequence. I thought it was like, I love trippy stuff. So anything that's trippy, I just dig. But you can't complain about the lighting on that scene, dude. I mean, I agree with you though. The VFX, some of them were kind of jarring a little bit. But yeah, Star Wars TV VFX is better looking. I'd probably say. I think Star Wars also tries to be a little more controlled or reined in. The latest Star Wars, they try to rein it in a little more and not go so crazy. Like, it's like, I haven't watched Boba Fett yet. I don't think I will, honestly. There it is. The Thing with Two Heads, co-starring Rosie Greer. That's the one. Yeah, check that. Even check the trailer out. It's hilarious. Oh yeah, it's weird. Maybe it's not hilarious. I mean, it is hilarious. Whatever. Thumb Warrior says, "Oh man, the pirate VHS copy of Finnegans Rainbow from my childhood is giving me flashbacks." I love that people can we can talk about Finnegans Rainbow, and people know what the hell we're talking about. I just remember the redheaded girl in the song. I can't hum it honestly but I can hear parts in my head. Something that it's such an Irish song. Everything's Irish about Finnegans Rainbow. All right, we gotta stop. No one else is getting what the hell we're talking about. All right, you're making me laugh like crazy. I'm not high. I kind of need to go get some stuff, but I'm not. All right, here we go. Green Screen King is No Way Home is absolutely terrible. I guess, I don't know. I didn't notice it that much, but I'm sure. Yeah. I was wondering how much of it was green screen too, because like this was probably shot during the pandemic. Like, did they get like Tobey Maguire and Andrew Garfield, but they only get them on separate days, so they did like sort of the Arrested Development thing where they would shoot like one actor on a plate and another actor on another plate kind of thing. I wonder if they did, or hell, because it's the pandemic. What else are they doing? They had nothing to do. Oh, come to the set, get COVID test. You're good. Oh, you're comparing Don't Look Up to Dr. Strangelove. I haven't seen that movie. I'm of two minds whether I want to see it or not. I mean, I'll probably see it eventually. John needs a picture of Spider-Man saving the movie theater business fast. I guess it did. It did so well, didn't it? Yeah, it actually broke records. So good for it. Why not? At least. Hey, we got to keep I still believe in the movie theater experience because I haven't spent the money to get my home. Although I might be doing that soon because I'm going to move my mama out upstairs. But I still like the theater, and I feel like we should try to keep them around as long as we can. But anyhow, I'm not going to go down. Enough of that. Nothing to talk about that. I'm getting like giddy now because we're talking about Finnegans Rainbow. All right, here we go. It's kind of sad hearing a new Hollywood director singing the praise of Golden Age musicals when the realism they brought in helped to make that style irrelevant in Hollywood filmmaking. Thank you, Harry. You're singing right to my thoughts, man. This is absolutely, I 100% agree with you. And when they did do a throwback movie, that New York, Run from the Heart, they were notoriously flops. What's that one that Peter Bogdanovich did? Do you remember that? At Long Last Love. And I was at my local film festival this is like 10 years ago plus, and they brought in, because my film festival would typically try to bring in celebrities. We're in Temecula, so we're about 2 hours from LA, so we can pull people in. Like we had the Rachel from 1 million years BC. Anyhow, they brought in Peter Bogdanovich, who unfortunately passed away pretty recently. He came to the theater, and my friend who was working as a kind of worker at the theater was managed to get us into the theater to see Peter Bogdanovich and what's her name? The girl that was in that movie at long last. Like he was dating her, I believe, at the time. Sissy, not Sissy Spacek. The blonde-haired girl. But anyhow, like they did a screening of At Long Last Love, and they took a bunch of questions, which Raquel Welch, they brought in Raquel Welch, gave her like a Lifetime Achievement Award. So she comes into it's held at Pechanga Casino Resort, which is like a big deal out here, right? It's it's probably the biggest Indian casino in Southern California. But they brought in Raquel Welch, gave her like the award for Lifetime Achievement Award for Raquel Welch, and they make a big old deal. And celebrities like, I get to come down as Pechanga for a weekend. They pay for my weekend and they give me an award. Why not? If you're free, take it. Because Raquel Welch, what is she doing, right? So this is the way that festival played it. But anyhow, they screened At Long Last Love, and we're talking about the realism in theater and movie musicals. Bogdanovich famously did all the singers will sing on set. Sybil Shepherd, thank you. Second wife. There you go. Yes, Bogdanovich's second wife. Sybil Shepherd, and the guy who was in it was the guy from Bandit. That mustachioed guy. You guys can help me out. The Smokey and the Bandit. That dude. Burt Reynolds. Not thinking about Norm Macdonald. Burt Reynolds is in that, and so we're talking about realism. They did the whole singing on set. Remember, like when Les Miserables was like, we're gonna have all our actors sing on set. Look at me. Look how cool I am. I'm gonna make all the singers sing on set. Like, Peter Bogdanovich did that in the 70s, and it sucked. It sucked. Yeah, Burt Reynolds. Yeah, I didn't stick around for the screening. We snuck in, and we sat in the front row because of the movie theater. No one sits in the front row. We sat in the front row for the interview with Sybil Shepherd and Peter Bogdanovich. And then, like when the movie started, like we watched maybe like a minute of it, and then we left. So, have you seen Bo Burnham's Inside? And if so, I have not. I heard things about it. So yeah, I should probably watch that. Kubrick is destined to be ripped off because of how influential he was. There's nothing wrong with how his stuff is influential. Nowhere nearly as bad as Joker and Taxi Driver. That was just sad. I kind of like Joker though. I thought it was. I guess I'm not as much in love with Taxi Driver. Although I kind of feel like in many ways, Joker was half a ripoff of King of Comedy. Because in a sense, Robert De Niro becomes the king of comedy. So there's a little, obviously Joker was very much how can we squeeze every Scorsese kind of, 70 angst movie into a modern day kind of retelling of a comic book. But then again, that's the comic book genre for you. I mean, that's what happens. It's always a mix mash of stuff. But again, I've only seen Taxi Driver once, and I'm not that big a fan of it. I see its greatness. It's just not the movie I want to keep watching. Yeah. Harry Henry, you follow me. You have a disdain for the 2007 Hairspray, but to be honest, I did love how the filmmaking made it feel like a musical made in the 60s, which seemed very appropriate. I think so. I only watched it once. I just disliked John Travolta's. Could we just put Bruce Vilanch in it? Somebody that's a little more. Oh yeah, and then you said I love the musical video had a disdain for La La Land. Oh my God, La La Land. Now that I've got some distance from it, La La Land is a fine movie, but it's just so freaking surface level shallow. It's just so shallow. Oh man. Now, I will disappoint you and tell you I hated King of Comedy. Like, I hated it. I don't think it wasn't bad filmmaking. I just hated the characters so much. I just hated it. I just did not like the movie at all. And I know it's probably bad to say. I'm sure I'll give it a second chance. Maybe I'm older now and I'm more wise as far as when I saw it as younger film. I was a filmmaker. Well, video maker. But I wasn't as studied on video and film history as I have become. But I really did not like King of Comedy. And that's just me. Did I watch Tick Tick Boom? No, I haven't. And I'm not a big fan of Jonathan Larson. I've never seen Rent. But I'm not really a big fan of Rent. I've heard some of the songs. I'm a Sondheim. I'm Sondheim and Andrew Lloyd Webber kind of guy. Anyhow. People caught up in calling La La Land Oscar bait to enjoy its simplicity. Yeah. My trouble with La La Land is that it's superficial, not only in the terms of how acting happens and also how jazz happens, because I have my feet in both of those worlds, and it just oh yeah, at the end of the movie, spoilers, La La Land, Emma Stone gets basically, oh, you're a nobody, but you had a great audition. We're going to fly you to Paris. And we're going to build this entire movie around you because nobody's ever heard of you in this universe. It's like, ugh. It's so superficial. I mean, I like, frankly, honestly, I wouldn't, in my younger days, I would consider moving to LA. Now I would not, because that city's it's a shit hole. Sorry about that language there. It's just awful. I remember in LA, I was taking my mom a passport, and there are streets in LA where it looks like a bomb went off. It's just nasty. It's a shithole of a place. I like movies, but I like shows about old LA. I like the shows like Bosch, which presented LA in what I feel was the most authentically LA. At least the LA I remember back in the late 2000s or so. But the LA shown off in La La Land is so freaking phony, so fake. It doesn't have any shred of that's just not LA. That's just not LA. It's just ugh. Except they got the traffic scene right at the beginning of the movie. Anyhow. Yeah, I guess you're saying, yeah, your point is, Rent is complicated for musical fans, very divisive. I agree with that. Having seen the actual MGM musicals that was paying homage to, it didn't feel authentic or as fun. Exactly, I agree with that too. It was like musical for people that don't know musicals. Musicals for people that don't like musicals. Oh, I don't like musicals, but I like La La Land. Well, that doesn't work. Yeah. So yeah, Henry, man, we should just get a beer together. We should just get a room, man. We should just make it great points. Sorry for dropping out. I got in a real strange conflict in the comment section. That's weird. Don't waste your time with comments. I know I don't. Try not to. I wish I didn't waste my time on it. I wish I was here instead, but oh well, I'm here now. Comments on YouTube are worthless. I find myself responding to certain comments and be like, okay, I'm just gonna ban you because there's no point. This is not going anywhere. You're obviously you're taking my lights are flickering like crazy for some reason. I had a video on my slit scan video, 2001 slit scan, was just you didn't explain at all what was going on. I'm like, dude, just watch the rest of the video. You didn't get to the part where I show you how, and it's just he's like, your script is shit, man. And I'm like, okay, well, I said, your comment is shit. And it just devolved. I'm like, yeah, nothing's nothing good is coming from this. Banned. So, by the way, my film videos are so formative for me in terms of films and filmmaking, so I remember a lot. Good. You know who else has been really formative for? If you want to learn filmmaking, start a filmmaking channel and then have like the drive to be really, 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 really try to get the exact story out, and that's the popular story, but like the true story kind of thing. And then that's how you kind of like you build up on this stuff. So, and Tony says, yeah, some people are so delusional, toxic, yet I end up feeling a stupid person just by engaging and letting them get to me. I think you got to remember too, and this is something that I've experienced, I've come to kind of terms with recently, and then and it basically comes down to this: people, and I'm saying this, like I said, people have said that I made a video that said why you don't need to record 32-bit, and it said why are you putting out these stupid clickbaity titles? And I said this is exactly what the video is. People making those kind of comments aren't saying the truth. There's something else going on. Maybe their dog died that day. Maybe they're just assholes in general. Maybe they're just having a shitty day. I mean, you don't know what's going on with their life. I'm not trying to excuse them because they are idiots, toxic, horrible, disgusting people. They're absolutely. But we don't know what the hell's going on in their head. And I could put a title up like, here's what I thought about the Spiderman movie. Oh, you're writing clickbait titles. It's like, it had nothing to do with me. It has nothing to do with my title. It has nothing to do with my video. It has nothing to do with the point I'm trying to make. He's just having a crappy day, or he's just having a bad personality or whatever. So we frame the world as if everyone is telling us the truth, or as if everybody's telling us what they really think or what they really feel, but that's not really how it works. Now, what I love about this conversation here is, guess what that knowledge is really useful for? Screenwriting. What if you wrote a scene where the people are talking about something, but they're not really talking about it, but they're just saying something. To me, this is the kind of like psychological interest stuff that's interesting when it comes to writing scenes and writing, short stories or stuff like that. Is a lot of times the characters they don't say what they mean. And I think that's what comments are. They're not really saying what they mean or what they think. They're just verbally diarrheaing. So getting philosophical. When making a film, do you think it's more important to think about what the audience would like or what you think is best to tell a story? I think it's always important to tell what you like in your story, what you think is the best, because you are the first audience member. So that's the most important thing. Now, on the other hand, you have to be aware of where the audience is. And I feel like I'm very guilty because we spent a lot of time talking about Finnegans Rainbow. And probably 2 people on this stream know what the hell I'm talking about. And everyone else is like, Finnegans Rainbow? What the frick is John talking about? His freaking nerdy musical idiot. But so yeah, you want to make sure your movie has an appeal to an audience that is fresh to it. Like, you sit with a story for so long, every detail, so that when that moment happens in that scene where, that moment is key to their character, but the person watching is like, I don't know he just picked up a pen. That doesn't make any sense. Like, you need to give the audience the keys to go along with the journey with you. So that's a tricky thing. That's a tricky thing to do. Where is that line? You don't want to spoon feed your audience like, hey, look, he's picking up that thing. Look at it. Cut to it. You don't want to do that. But you got to figure out a way to you got to find that middle ground where allow people to kind of take the journey with you. You know what I mean? Anyhow, it's not easy. That's why it's art. That's why it's an art form. Yeah, that's why art is not a mathematical equation. Great theater story. I heard people who burst out laughing when seeing Walt Disney Picture Presents a David Lynch film at the credit of the start of the Straight Story. I've never seen the Straight Story. I need to watch that thing. I hear it's fantastic, and it's not like anything else David Lynch has ever made. Yeah, the most surrealistic moment from Lynch. Thank you for shining a light on my little bit of venting there. I really appreciate the input, and I do agree. I just don't understand people take out their issues on others. I'll be honest with you. So the last few days, I've been kind of going on not Facebook, YouTube here, and I've been kind of like a little bit down. Well, I've just been down for the last week or so, just depressed kind of. But I came to the realization, like, I'm opening up these YouTube comments, and I'm basically every day I'm getting insulted by somebody. Somebody's just throwing an insult at me, and I'm like. People don't realize if you're anonymous, if you don't put, especially people that don't put any videos out, don't get comments or any of that, people just kind of go out and spewing hate at people. Like it for the person on the other side, like it aggregates. Like I get one bad comment from one person, but another person, like somebody that's really famous, they must get like a snowball of this stuff. It's just probably look, I'm not that big, and my viewership is dwindling by as we speak. So the insult people say. So I don't get as bad as I think I do, but your mind will tend to go toward the negative first. So yeah, we could have a conversation. We could have a long conversation because I think about this stuff a lot of stuff. The other video YouTube movie guy I watch is Rambo Raw for life. His name is Matt. He's famous for his rants in very colorful language. I gotta give it to the guys that can rant. The Lewis Black style kind of like just get freaking angry. It's an art form. If you don't get insulted daily, are you really living? That's true. I would insult you, but I'm thinking of baked bean. All right. Very good. I will do that as well. I hope it gets easier to deal with over time, but in my experience, it doesn't get easier. I think we all learn from it. So what also is my own personal, and we're now deep enough that it's just us here. All the people have left here. Basically, some of the criticisms I got, I was internalizing because I feel the same way. Like during the pandemic, we couldn't make anything really. I mean, I was busy doing government stuff. I was with the FBI. Never mind. But I was busy doing a lot of work, but I wasn't making anything that was for fun or the stuff I wanted to make. And I still really can't. I mean, I'm getting to the point where I'm going to be closer to being able to do that. But like a lot of people were harping on me, like, "Oh, you haven't made a film. You haven't made any films." I'm like, because I was personally like getting on myself, like, I haven't made films. Like the mob crowd yells at you, and if you're a reasonable person, you basically become introspective, and you try to, oh, that's some criticism. I should take that into consideration, and you become introspective, and you start thinking about, oh, maybe that criticism is correct. Maybe that's what I need, and then, but they're random insults. They're not even legitimate insults. So they're not even legitimate criticisms. So, yeah. Anyhow, I need to not take them seriously. And the way to solve that too is also to motivate me to do what I want to do, which is make some stuff. So, John, you are a safer movie guy to chat with than that Matt guy. Maybe. I'll bet you I'm older. Oh yeah, there you go. By the way, I can't believe Mike Todd, the guy who eventually produced the film version of Oklahoma, was the same one that got dismissed from having no girls, no gags, was the same one that dismissed it? Oh my, really? I did not know that. No girls, no gags, no dance. Huh. It's not funny because Oklahoma has, oh yeah, no gags. No girls, no gags, no chance. I can't read the thing. Yes, that's interesting. That is interesting. Mike Todd is an interesting guy. He really is. Yeah. Flavor says, when in reality it's just bored people picking. I'm flat. My lights are like really weird today. It's just bored people poking creators with a stick. Yeah, I don't think they're only poking. I think they're also just randomly just. I was listening to the Joe Rogan podcast. He had Jordan Peterson, and then they're talking about how, and Joe Rogan was saying, it's just talk. Like, you hear you're sitting in an assembly line and you're like, oh yeah, Ricky Gervais, yeah, fuck that guy. Like, it's just talk. Like, if he was actually there, like, they wouldn't say that to his face. But it's all that stuff is just talk, and it's just talk. It doesn't mean anything. It doesn't really, isn't important at all. Who cares? That's a better way to take it. Now, if you want to take somebody that gets a lot of shit, there's Joe Rogan. He gets a lot. Anyhow. Sometimes I think if I had a bigger audience, it'd be easier to tune out the bad stuff. And what you mentioned about time earlier, yeah, it seems terrifying. I think that they just stay off social media altogether. Yeah, I have the same feeling too. Like if I was just getting a stream of negativity or positivity, because I get a lot of positive comments too. I just don't respond negatively to those. If I just got if I was insulted 100 times a day versus only once a day, it would feel less like important. I think that's true. I think a lot, and I think with the celebrities too, they do try to avoid engaging their audience that way. I noticed, like, I go on a lot of other people's YouTube channels. I rarely see the creator engaging people in the comments. If you go see in one of my videos, I'm engaging like almost every other comment. So, that's because I'm not that big yet. I have plans for a size 56 belt. Never mind. Oh. I just had to reload the stream, and the automatic thumbnail on it is. That should be an automatic. It's not an automatic. That's actual thumbnail. The problem, YouTube seems to be the only viable platform for what I'm doing. I don't know how much viable YouTube is. I really don't. Like, unless you're in the top 1% of your genre. Like, I just don't see it as a viable anything, really. 1%, maybe 2%. It's just, I feel YouTube has become really, really, not really good. But maybe I'm putting out crap content, so who knows. In my opinion, here's a good comment. My opinion, I think movies should die to bring a purity to it, so those who actually care about culture buckle down to save it, like skateboarding in the 90s. That's so unbelievably melodramatic. That's whatever. Like, you must be like 15 or something. I'm 14 and this is deep. Like, seriously, no, don't think that way. I'm sorry, I'm picking on you. Those creators are taking care of their health pretty well. Yeah. I wish more people would be honest in their criticism. They seem so fake lately. I get a decent gauge on if what I'm doing is awesome or total crap. It's hard. Like, honestly, if you want like a real... I've had a few people who critiqued my work at a level which improved me tremendously. But it takes someone who has very skilled knowledge on this on making movies. And on top of that, it's extremely time consuming. It's like, you can't just show it to your mom and it's like, hey mom, I made a movie, what do you think? Oh, it's lovely, it's fantastic. Like, you need to and then if you show it to me, like, oh yeah, it's fine. But no, John, I want you to critique this, and let's go. Like, okay, we're gonna spend an hour critiquing and going through like every little cut, every decision you made on a film, on a short film, on a 5-minute film. We could sit for hours and hours going almost frame by frame, not necessarily frame by frame, but like shot cut by cut. And I had a friend of mine who worked at Fox, and we were on MySpace, and he took a liking to me, and I made my movie, and I put up scene by scene as I was working on it, and he went through it cut by cut, telling me, like, try moving this cut 2 frames ahead. Try moving this cut 1 frame down. Give this guy just a brief hair a little longer. This is a good cut. Literally, cut by cut. It taught me so much about the art of editing. So much. To sit down and literally like go cut by cut because it matters that much. In a narrative film. That's also, I guess, what made me so kind of disappointed the last year or so. I've been doing a lot of live event, and those cuts don't really matter. I mean, yeah, I can move them around, but it doesn't matter in the end. So, like, a lot of stuff I've been putting out there, like, it doesn't matter. But yeah, every cut by cut. And it takes such a long time to get to that kind of critique. So, I mean, look, show your friends, get the positive vibes. Nothing wrong with that. Nothing wrong with that at all. We all need that, man. But to have someone like literally rip you apart, basically, but do it in a loving way. There's a, I can rip you apart hopefully without making you cry. I would think I could. But I could rip anything apart. I could literally rip it down to its barest bones. There'll be nothing standing of your ego left. But, I mean, unless you're really good. But it's also one of the things where it's not good to do that online. Because it's much better to sit with a person and talk it through. Because sometimes you have to get through their defenses. Like, I couldn't do that because we didn't have the light of the day. I didn't have the ability. Calm down. I'm not trying to hurt your ego. I'm just saying, what if we, made this edit here, or maybe that's not the right take, or whatever. Anyhow, people say that they always want me to do a video or a series where I critique people's movies or something like that, but I think that would end really, really badly. It'd just end in fisticuffs. End in fisticuffs. All right. And Tony says, yes, it does. I spent so much time praising the pauses in my latest animation short films because they all felt silly due to how much time I spent on it. But in the end, it really felt so satisfying. Yep. Editing is like music, like if your cut isn't in the right place, it's like coming in a beat early in a song. It doesn't work. Big Bones comes back after I insulted him earlier. A lot of my friends have sooks when I critique their work, whether I'm right or wrong. They would be too ignorant to take their criticism. People just want praise most of the time. I would push back on this. Get this out of your head. You're not right or wrong. You just have a different opinion. I think that's the other issue young people take with, like, it's objectively true that Star Wars is a bad film, or whatever. Last Jedi was a bad. It's like, no, it's just an opinion. It's a widely supported opinion. It's a very common opinion. It's probably most widely supported opinion. I don't share it, but a lot of people would agree that it's a shitty film. But it's not a right or wrong issue. It's more about what would work or not. And I think that's the other thing that's really difficult about getting criticism. Because I think a lot of people, when they give criticism, it becomes, how would I have done it? And then it becomes an ego thing. Then it becomes my ego saying, well, I would have shot it this way. I would have done it this way. Like, the mark of a good teacher, a good critique, I think, is to say, I think I understand how you want to play this. Here's what I think you can do to make it play better for your perspective, for your voice to come through. I think that is tricky to do. Because there's so many things. I mean, if I was supposed to teach filmmaking in a college course, but it didn't happen because of the pandemic. But that would be hard to do, because I would say, I would shoot it this way. I would shoot it. And when you're dealing with a very, very novice filmmaker, they should shoot it your way. They should, because they need to learn some basics. And then when we get to the more advanced, then we can say, okay, here's your voice and style. I think this would work if you had a frame earlier, and that kind of thing. So, my light is going crazy. I don't know if you guys must not see that. I'm seeing it. Here we go. Do you recommend transferring an audience from one platform to another, or transitioning following success outside social media? I don't know. Transferring audience? Maybe. I don't know. I couldn't tell you. I'm not an SEO guy. I think SEO is mostly bullcrap, but I think sometimes you pick your poison. Like if you understand how TikTok works, you may not understand how something else like Instagram stories works. So just because you're successful in one doesn't mean you're going to be successful in the other. You can try to be on both, but I'm kind of over the whole social media stuff. Sorry. Yeah, people have their own defense, but it's very hard to keep your criticism accessible. I think the criticism also has to come from a place of like, I want to make this thing better for you. I want your best self to shine through, rather than I want to make myself feel better by criticizing you. That's a difference. That's tough. That's the difference between a teacher and just some random asshole on the internet. Hey, Rick, thank you for the super chat. We always appreciate that, man. Thank you so much. Now my revenue on just doubled on YouTube. There's some flickering. Yeah, I don't know what's going on with the flickering. That's weird. Some power thing going on weird. Yeah, because we brought up Lynch. That's probably what it was. David Lynch is getting his revenge. That's what it is. Let's see here. What comments are... I know I've said things that you differ with. Thanks for talking about your thoughts and what you've said will stimulate my brain cells. Good. I hope I'm helping you out. Again, it's different too when I'm talking to you in a person, in as much as I'm live and you're written. But unfortunately, when we write comments to each other, the inflections don't come off right. So I'm glad we can talk about it. Talk about these things rather than try to write them out in comment sections, which would probably devolve into flame wars. I meant if you successfully use social media as a creative outlet and your niche is filmmaking. I also don't think that I think narrative film is one slice of the pie. Like going in the future, like narrative film is one tool set or one medium, right? Like filmmaking to me, when I say filmmaker IQ, I don't mean just narrative film. I mean streaming. I mean videos. I mean, home videos. I mean news broadcasts, TV shows, all of it. TikTok videos even, So I think I think filmmaking is branched out to everything. I'm not a gatekeeper in that sense. I'll gatekeep 24 frames a second, but I'm not a gatekeeper in there. I think everything's under the big umbrella. So I don't think, can you make an outlet from social media to filmmaking? I don't think it's, I think it's a rough go at it. Friend and I were watching, remember that girl she's My Drunk Kitchen? I forget her name. She was huge. And then she made this movie called some weird ass superhero movie with another YouTube star. My friend and I were watching it at his house on Amazon, and we're like, this is like the quality of YouTube studios. This is stuff we made in YouTube studios. Like the sets were so icky, not icky, just so bland and boring. Yeah. Anyhow. But I don't think it was a movie. I don't think it was a successful movie. Like she got so popular on YouTube with My Drunk Kitchen, Hannah something or another, and it never was never able to move it over to like film. Although she wasn't really a great actress, she was just a personality. So yeah, I'm getting a little tired, and my lights are flickering like crazy. So we're gonna wrap it up pretty soon. I'll take a few more chats before we go. Rick H, the super chat. I'm gonna read your comment. Are one of the 4 channels that truly look forward to viewing? Oh, thank you. The other is Ed China's Garage. Nice. Stance Works and Bad Obsession Motorsports. All right, you guys have your go-to. Subscribe to those channels. Is your light on the TV effect mode? I'm not sure. Oh, yeah, it's my TV. My light's on the flickering mode. Maybe. I think there's some weird power thing going on or something. I don't know. We're gonna end this pretty soon. Rigel 7. Haven't seen you in a while, Rigel. Yeah, you're on here earlier. You ever see the walk-in saying that let's call the whole thing off on SNL via the cue card? Just saying tomato. I say potato, you say potato, potato, potato. Let's call the whole thing off. Oh, that's great. That's great. I love it. It made me laugh. All right, I'm having a bad week, but hanging out with you guys is really bringing some fun in my life again. Thanks, guys. Thanks a lot for that. I mean, really, seriously, I'm glad I have a little bit of an audience to hang out with and chat and feel like I'm actually appreciated. And people want to hear what I have to say. I really thank you guys for hanging out with me. I'll read a couple more before I go because I love hanging out with you guys. I love how you use that YouTube Space LA for how a director stages and blocks. I wish I was on YouTube like looking for the next time they would do something like that, trying to get on to make another experiment like that, but YouTube, they're not serious about shit like that, really. I really wanted, and then now YouTube Space is basically LA's gone. They deleted the site. Everything's gone. I think they're using that space, but yep. Jaeger Film says, that Jaeger Film. Hey, John, not insult comment. The 4th tutorial ever made you posted on Filmmaker IQ blog. Oh, 2013. You remember how excited I was from that? Oh, wonderful. Jaeger Film. Let's see if I remember you. Because I posted almost every single one of those videos. I'll have to see if I remember what that one was. I might actually remember it. Anyhow, yeah. So you guys are all vibing. We're all chill. This is a chill stream, despite what the haters say. Despite that, these are live streams, folks. If you don't go into these things expecting a live conversation, this is not a scripted video. If you couldn't figure that out by now, you shouldn't be on YouTube. So, anyhow, hanging out has helped us too. I arrived here feeling very bummed out, and the atmosphere is definitely. I'm glad of that. I'm so happy of that. That's nice to hear. I'm glad I can bring some calm at least to just saneness. Stop reading Twitter. Stop reading the news. Let's just watch some movies together. Get some popcorn. We should do that. We should do like a Filmmaker Can movie night or something like that. Figure out how to do that. Oh, thank you guys. Thank you. Happy Speedball podcast. Speedball. Nice. Hippie Speedball. So, helped many people who have such knowledge on films and filmmaking. I hope you guys remember that I wouldn't be able to do this channel I wouldn't be able to do this channel if this was all about cameras. And I wouldn't be able to do this channel if all this was about technical side of filmmaking. Because I don't believe it is. I used to run the Facebook and on Filmmaker IQ Facebook, and I'd post pictures. People were like, what does it have to do with filmmaking? And I always would get angry about those comments because filmmaking isn't exposure. Filmmaking isn't sound. Filmmaking isn't frame rate. Filmmaking isn't all that. Filmmaking is life. And I can make anything in this world about filmmaking because it's all about story and how we communicate through motion picture and sound. So that's really what I want to do with this channel. I don't want to be sitting there doing freaking camera reviews or camera comparisons. My lights are, we're gonna compare flickering lights. That's what I'm gonna do. But I believe that filmmaking is life. Filmmaking is life. Life is filmmaking. Anyhow, thanks for hanging out with me, guys. I would love to read more comments, but I've got to get going. My voice is starting to crack, and I need to take care of some other stuff. So take care, guys. We'll see you next week. And maybe we'll have some, maybe by the end of the week we'll have a Fox video. I don't know. Did someone say that? No. Maybe we'll have a Fox video next week. All right, guys. Take care now. See you later. Bye.